Fueling the passion, igniting the light through highs and lows. We'll stand as one, a legacy, a tale that's just begun. Together we roar, together we grow. Detroit Lions will rise, with a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our road. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. So let's lift our voices, let's turn it up loud. For the love of the Lions, we'll always be proud.
All right. Good morning. Welcome to the Rise and Grind Morning Show. It is Wednesday, 12/18. It is 8:02 a.m. I'm joined by Eric Rintamaki. Good morning, Eric. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Even if everyone out there in YouTube land is not fantastic, I'm still fantastic today.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with being fantastic, but do me a quick favor, double check your audio. Mine was way down for some reason.
Okay.
I don't know why, but I caught it there just at the end. So if you guys could let us know in the chat that we're good on audio, that we sound similar, because you know what happens when I get back from traveling or off for a couple of days. It seems like things get a little screwed up. But anyway, good to be back. I'm down 24 pounds, 22 pounds, whatever it is now in the last few weeks. But man, these last 2 days, I think I lost 7 pounds after what ensued from getting home, man. It was terrible. So in case anybody was wondering, I have a little bit of gastroparesis going on here. Not really sure why. Of course, it could be the medication that I'm on, but it's temporary. So we'll be all right. We'll keep on doing what we're doing to stay healthy. So Eric, man, we've had a wild weekend. Hell of a game. I expected it was going to be a shootout. And like I said, our scores are not going to, jive with what we expected from this Bills game. And I know it's Wednesday. We're 2 days late even talking about this, but we're going to briefly talk about the game too. We both kind of expected that this was going to go the way that it went as far as defense just not really being able to do much. The one thing that I'm sick of hearing or sick of seeing, and it's not a personal opinion anymore. I mean, it's a fact that people think that pass rush solves everything, and it doesn't. It absolutely does not. If pass rush solved everything, would the Lions have won 11 in a row? Would they have won all of those games since week 6? They won it all without a pass rush that was tops of the league. I mean, they've been hovering kind of, top 13, 14, top 10 at times, getting plenty of pressures, really haven't let off with what they're doing. Doesn't matter what players were utilizing. They're still getting enough pressure. But in this game, if you pressure Josh Allen, he would have ran way more than what he did. This was a game that we had to contain. And I think for whatever reason, I don't know what it is yet. You would think that I would have watched the game again already, but I didn't. You would have thought that we would have played a little bit more containment with a spy. And Aaron Glenn hates the term spy. He doesn't think that spy works, but I did see him use it a couple of times. And you would have thought at some point that we would have went to a zone given the fact of what Josh Allen was doing. Those two things combined, a little bit of zone, man-to-man on the number one wide receivers, and a little bit of a spy, just making sure that Josh Allen doesn't get out of the pocket and force him, funnel him to where you want him to go. It just seemed like none of that happened. But what is the number one thing that I said that was going to happen last week? Josh Allen is going to beat you with off-schedule throws. He is going to extend the play. He's going to get outside the pocket. He's going to boot it outside, and then he's going to dice you up downfield. And that's what he did. He couldn't hit. I should say couldn't hit. He really didn't hit a lot of the dink and dunk stuff that he normally does. It was just get outside and it was downfield. And for whatever reason, people think that, a 5, 6, 7 second play is the fault of a pass rush. It's not. You tell me one pass rush that is going to get inside on any quarterback in under 2 seconds, because it doesn't happen. The average sack is 4 seconds in the NFL. And that's not the reason why Josh Allen did what he did. It wasn't because of pass rush. It's because he intentionally faked the ball and got outside immediately. No pass rush is going to deal with that. No pass rush has dealt with that all season with Josh Allen. So it is what it is. You can't have 11 pass rushers on a defense. and you can't have 6 of them on your 53-man roster. So pass rush was not the answer. It was, I think we're missing too many players. And we got a lot of new guys in there trying to learn a scheme. Dan Campbell said he didn't have these guys ready. That's probably coach speak. But I think that when you're missing an entire linebacker room, right, and you're down to 3rd and 4th and 5th options, you're going to struggle. You're going to have difficulty. So that's my 2-minute tirade of what this Josh Allen thing was all about. I'm just sick of seeing it. Like, pass rush is not going to fix anything. Yeah. We haven't needed it. You really haven't. I'm gonna jump off the soapbox. Eric, what was your 2 seconds or your 2 minutes about the game?
We were so close. We were so close to sacking Josh Allen multiple times, and defenders just took horrible angles, or they dove for him and they just weren't fast enough to catch up to him. Josh Allen is fast.
Yeah, he is. He's lightning. That dude's lightning. I never realized how quick he really was.
Man, he's just slippery and fast. I thought Lamar Jackson was good. This dude, I've never seen anything like it live in person, and it was all off schedule. And you know who it was going to? It was going to running backs leaking out of the backfield after blocking for him to the opposite side of the field, and tight ends doing the same thing. Tight ends staying in nice and close, blocking, chipping whoever on the defensive line, Zadarius Smith or whoever's over there, and then leaking off to the side. And there's Josh Allen. Hey, I'm wide open. Nobody's covering me.
Well, think about that for a minute. So that speaks to what I just said about the linebackers, right? So they forced a linebacker that has been with this team for a handful of days, weeks, handful of snaps. They forced a linebacker to pick up the running back and then bang, just streaks him down, the sideline where Josh Allen's going to find him. That was a perfect way to beat this defense, is to get that linebacker one-on-one with a running back where Josh Allen is going to take advantage of it. That is not a pass rush situation where, come on, guys. I mean, they had a perfect scheme against a defense that was extremely banged up, and every team's probably going to use it now.
Listen, Ty Johnson used to be a running back for the Detroit Lions back in the Patricia days. Okay.
Was it Ty Johnson?
Yep. And we released him, and he went to the Jets, and then he went to the Bills, and I think he went to the Dolphins or somebody else too. So this is like his 3rd or 4th team. He's playing with the Buffalo Bills now. He had a career day through the air, 114 yards on, I think, 8 or 9 catches. He tore us up. That killed us. Was the running back and the tight ends for the Bills. That it just absolutely killed us. And sitting in the stands, there was 2 things that I kept saying to my buddy, that we need to stop this running back from catching the ball. And the other thing I kept saying was, we need to run the ball. We need to run the ball on 1st and 2nd down, and not pass on 1st or 2nd down. We need to run the ball more. And I kept saying it the whole first half. And I said it coming out of the half into the second half. We need to run the ball. We need to run the ball. We need to run the ball. And what did we do? We threw the ball 50 something times.
Well, that's the problem though. I mean, I know what you're saying. I know what you wanted to do, but the problem is when you're down 14-0 quickly, you're going to sit back and launch the ball, because that's the quickest way to catch up. And to be honest with you, a Bills defensive front that not a lot of us were that worried about, shut the run game down. And our offensive line just had a very rough day.
Oh, and they had a 100-yard rusher, by the way. That was our first one in 2 years.
I mean, the stage was set. But, again, the thing that I expected the Lions to do to combat what Josh Allen was doing was something that we don't do often. We had plenty of DBs that were on this team for the entire season. And instead of forcing, newer linebackers, linebackers that haven't been with this team for a while, to do something that maybe they're not quite suited to do, well, why didn't you just go to the 3-6 or the 3-3-5, have 5 DBs in, more often, match up a DB with that running back. Now you've got speed for speed. The linebacker's not going to hang with a running back. Hardly any running backs or any linebackers are running sub 4.5 speed. They're not going to be able to hang with these guys booking downfield. So you bring more DBs in, you slam the box shut, and then you tell your DBs to pick up every running back that's coming across the middle and the tight ends. And I felt that would have been a better way to go. Now, look, I'm no AG. I'm no NFL defensive coordinator. I can only see what I see when I'm there. And hindsight's always 20/20, right? I mean, that's what it is. Monday morning quarterback, now Wednesday. That's just what it is. You see what you see. But during the game, I said the same thing. But before the game, in the pregame, if you go back and check the tape of, Thursdays and Friday shows, that's exactly what I was talking about. That's what they should have done. You got to match speed for speed with these guys. Our linebackers weren't going to do it. Jack Campbell's the only guy that's been on this team long enough to know what he's doing inside this defense. And he's not a good coverage guy. I mean, his coverage is not great, especially downfield. Sideline to sideline, maybe, but that was Anzalone's job. We don't have Anzalone anymore. We will soon, but we just didn't have him in this game. And you know what? At the end of the day, guys, it's just one loss, right? We're still fine. I understand that a lot of people are really concerned. They're depressed, according to Karsten and Alan said, or Costa, whatever the hell their podcast is, or radio show. 97 won the ticket. I don't know if that's really the case. I mean, I see that, people have kind of been walking towards the edge of a cliff the last few weeks with all the injuries, and now they just fell off. They're like, it's over, it's done. And we're in the playoffs. We're still in the dance. As long as we can learn a two-step pretty quickly, I think we'll be all right. Yep. And that's what we're going to have to do. We might take some calls today, Ed. We'll see. I got a lot to get through today. I'll try to do it. If I don't, I'll do it tomorrow or something.
Ed did a super chat too.
Wait, we got a super chat in there. Did I miss it?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ed. Appreciate you, man. $1.99 super chat says, game came down to the 4 drives. The O disappeared. Yeah, maybe. I mean, our offense just had a rough time, but dude, they hung 42 points on the Bills. I don't know how much more you can really ask from an offensive standpoint. The defense is where our problem was. I mean, they finally forced one punt the entire day, and then they held them to 2 field goals, I think, from memory. Yeah. I think the issue was the Dan Campbell 12-minute, going for an onside kick. For me, your defense just held them to some field goals. Like that would be the opportunity to think, hey, maybe they can do it again. Maybe we can just force another field goal. That takes 4 points off the board, right? Now it's a 44-42 game at the end. And I know that, for every action, there's a reaction. So you just don't know what each team is going to do. But if you go just by points, the Lions would have been in a position to win it with a field goal. Then Jake Bates missed a pretty big field goal, horribly. But I'm not going to blame him. But what I will blame a little bit, on Dan Campbell here to dude, what are you doing? I get it. You didn't trust what the defense was doing, but you just held them to a field goal. I would have given them one more opportunity, because even if Josh Allen runs 6 minutes down the field and scores another touchdown, you're still in the same position you were at the end of the game, meaning you're still going to lose by 6 points because there just wasn't enough time. And then to your point, Eric, you said something, on the phone yesterday. Why didn't Dan Campbell then do onside kicks the rest of the game?
Well, I've come to find out that you can only do it twice.
Is that the new rule?
Yeah, you're only allowed to do an onside kick twice in the fourth quarter when down. So that was why he couldn't, because he's like, otherwise I would have. He's like, I tried to save the other one for the end of the game. So
yet another NFL rule that
screwed you,
Yeah, that traps the line. I can't stand some of these new rules. You should be able to do whatever you want that's in a playbook, no matter what it is.
And they have to bring back the surprise onside kick. They have to figure out a way to do it, because this new kickoff rule, I think, is the dumbest thing ever. No one ever returns a kick anymore. Every single kick was kicked through the end zone. 100% in this game went through the end zone, got the ball at the 30. Because I was sitting on the 30-yard line and everybody was starting right in front of me every single first down. And I think it's the worst play in football now. It used to be so much fun on kickoffs, and now there's just nothing There's only been one or two return for I think 2 return for touchdowns all season long in the whole entire NFL, if I'm not mistaken. So everybody just kicks it through the back of the end zone now. Everybody can do it.
So I want to review the onside kick rule at some point. Someone in the chat said that the two onside kicks may not be accurate. So I'll review.
Oh, okay.
I'll review it and I'll get back to you. So I've got the NFL rule book. I'm just not going to go through it right now because it could take me 5-10 minutes to read all this.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, whether it's a rule or not, then Dan Campbell should have done it. If you're going to start at 12 minutes, then you've got to continue the trend, to try to get.
And he even said in his interview, he said, maybe I should have. Maybe I should have just done it every single time. And that's what I was saying when they first went for it at 12 minutes left and they did an onside kick. I said to my buddy Mark that was sitting next to me, I said, now, if he does it right now, he better do it on every single one for the rest of the game. And they didn't. And I didn't understand it. But he was saying in his interview that maybe he was a little gun shy because what is his name? Holland got that ball and brought it all the way down to the 5 and scored on the next play.
Yeah, down to the 3. But you know what? That was a tip ball. Like that's a once in a lifetime tip to yourself, and you get the ball. Had he not tipped that ball, the Lions would have got it. And I understand. That's where the Dan Gamble is. Hell, if he gets it, he's a genius. And when he doesn't get it, he's going to pay the piper. Well, I just feel at that moment, there was too much time on the clock. You could have stopped the Bills. Hell, you could have gotten an interception finally. And that would have totally changed the game. But giving them a free touchdown and scoring within, a couple of plays, that was not the answer. You just scored and you just erased your touchdown. So to me, that just didn't make any sense. And I don't know the alignments either, because the other thing that I was thinking about this week is the alignment on the onside kick. So you've got Jake Bates on the second onside kick. He kicked it straight, at the guy that was lined up in the middle. So my question on this is going to be, where do these guys have to line up on the onside kick? Because could you put 2 guys, right where Jake Bates is kicking the ball? Could you put a guy right there so that he's running at the guy that's, going to receive the ball? He just drills him, and then Jake Bates covers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Jake almost got that ball.
He almost got it, but it almost looked like he was trying to drill the guy. He was trying to push the guy off the ball so someone could clean it up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm just wondering if you could put 2 guys right there, run right one guy right next to the ball where it's about to be kicked off.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll research that too. And
because before, when you did an onside kick, you could only have so many guys on one side of the line and so many guys on the other side. So you couldn't overload like you used to be able to. You could put the kicker out there and everybody over to the right, and you can't do that anymore.
What's up, Ed? Ed says at will, buddy. Did I miss something?
I don't know. The chat's going crazy today.
Yeah, well, it's been a minute since we've been on, and people got a lot on their brain.
And this is what I was thinking about the game. So I had a conversation with Will yesterday, and there's 2 plays that I thought really, really changed the outcome of this game. And it wasn't missed field goals. You had those 2 missed field goals, one by each kicker. Holy crap, this score is even higher. And this was the highest scoring game of the entire season by any 2 teams.
Was it really?
Yes.
And didn't the Bills just do that the week before?
Yeah, it was the first game over 90 points.
So the Bills had 2 of the highest scoring games back to back.
Yeah. So it's not like we didn't figure out their defense. We just figured it out through the air instead of on the ground. And like I was talking to Will, the 2 plays that I thought really changed everything was the onside kick, which we just talked about, and then the drop by Amon-Ra St. Brown. So that was their one forced error. Yeah, the forced error that they got a turnover. We didn't get a turnover. They did. You take that away, that's another 7 points right there because they ended up scoring on that drive.
Yeah, and the thing that I'm going to say about Amon-Ra St. Brown is the dude is just absolutely dynamite. I mean, he is the most consistent wide receiver in the NFL. He put up 193 yards on the day. I think he was targeted 18, caught 15 balls, and one of them happened to leak out. His first fumble of the season. I think it's his first fumble in well over 200 catches at least.
Yep.
So I'm not going to put any blame on that situation. He got his ass. I know you're not, but I just want to make sure that everyone understands. I'm not going to put any blame on Amon-Ra for that fumble because the dude was getting his ass kicked. Like he took some hits. And I think that he was questioning even getting up off the ground there for a couple of them. But, man, he stood right in there and just kept on, keeping us in the game. So big shout out to Amon-Ra St. Brown and his grit factor because that dude took a stomach shot that I thought was going to take him out of the game. And somehow he shook it off. And I don't know that Jared Goff could have put that ball in a better spot. I mean, I understand.
No. This is the thing. The Bills were so much more physical than I thought they were going to be. And they came in and they punched us in the damn mouth. They really did. They were so much more physical than I think the Lions even thought. Even with 10 days off, we just got done with this super physical game, beating the Packers. And then we have the Bills come to town. And I think we were just a little bit beat up and we weren't expecting them. We thought they were going to roll over like they did for the Rams. We thought we were going to be able to run the ball on them all day. And we came out and tried to run the ball and it didn't work.
No, it didn't. And so John Desage, excuse me, this was Amon-Ra's flu game. So I guess Amon said he had food poisoning. Now this is 2 years in a row that he's kind of claimed food poisoning. I will say this about food poisoning only from being in the industry many years ago, is that food poisoning usually takes 24 hours to kick in. It does not happen immediately. It usually takes about 24 hours. But so if he had food poisoning, like legit food poisoning, I would question if someone's putting something in his food. That's just rare to get. Well, first of all. Second, to have it 2 years in a row, right before a big game, that seems a bit odd to me. That seems real odd to me.
Game of his life.
He played out of his mind. All right, let's move off this game for a moment, but we're going to continue on with the trend of talking some Lions news. I've got to get to the injuries, guys. I know that it's just been kind of beat all week long. But as we know, David Montgomery has undergone season-ending, at least what's expected to be season-ending knee surgery. Let me get this open.
He said yesterday that he's going for a second opinion first.
Yeah, so let me open this up. So Campbell noted that Montgomery's injury will require surgery, and he will be out for the remainder of the year. Previous reports suggested it was just an MCL injury that required more testing, and Campbell noted that those tests confirmed the worst. Quote by Campbell says, looks like he's going to require surgery. That'll put him out for the rest of the year. He had gotten it at some point yesterday in the game. David's so tough, man. He continued to play through it, and he got it checked out today, this was 2 days ago. And then he realized that's, what it was. As far as I understand, Montgomery.
Yeah, because he went to a coat drive yesterday.
Yep.
And he was saying he's hoping to be back this season.
Well, honestly, if he were to have a minor MCL repair done, I think it's a 4 to 6 week recovery.
And they did not put him on IR yesterday, and everyone was wondering why.
And or if they just do a cleanup surgery, I'd have to know I'd have to look and see what it says as far as the image report. You know what I mean? But 4 to 6 weeks, yeah, you could get it done if it's just a cleanup surgery. Or if you don't have surgery and you just try to rehab it and then you have off-season surgery, 4 to 6 weeks, you could probably come back. Now, again, I'm not a doctor, but just going off of previous life lessons here. If he had surgery, I would say that's probably a 12 to 16 week rehab recovery. If he had no surgery and just rehabbed, it could probably be 4 to 6 weeks. But then again, he's still going to be, in that position of, is it going to happen again? And it could. And it absolutely could. But at that point, it doesn't matter. Season's over anyway. You're in the final game, most likely, or one of the final games. You gave it your all, and we'll see you next season. What else can you do?
Yeah.
Ali McNeil, on the other hand, he is done for the season.
Yep.
So Ali McNeil, he also had, he tore his ACL in his right knee. Thankfully, it's just the ACL, right? Thankfully, he doesn't have ACL, PCL, MCL, doesn't have a whole host of things going on. It's just the ACL, which is still bad enough. But he injured it midway through the third quarter when his right knee kind of buckled, and he landed on the Bills quarterback, which was Josh Allen at the time, still is today. Campbell indicated on Sunday afternoon or Sunday night that he would undergo more testing for the ACL on Monday, which he did, and he is done for the season. So he is now shelved. The biggest question that's coming out of this is who are the Lions going to be able to add? You know, who are they going to be able to poach from practice squads around the league? And so far, it's been quiet. Anthony Pittman has been the only guy that the Lions brought in. That's a linebacker. They have not brought in anyone else at this point. Now, there is some talk and there's some chatter going on about the Lions, you know, searching and looking for players. And I'll be interesting to see what happens here over the next couple of days. Dorsey. So, you know, I reviewed this, like I said, after the post-game show there, after the game. When I reviewed it, yeah, you could tell his ankle was just flopping around. It was a bad injury, man. Very similar to what Aiden has gone through, these compound fractures. Now, he was on the field right after, I believe, Carlton Davis left with that jaw injury, jaw, concussion, whatever he's got going on. And then he gets hurt. So we're going to be down Dorsey, in my opinion, who's been just stellar in special teams. So when you look at the factor of losing Dorsey, yeah, he's not a starting corner. But what he does on special teams, I mean, it's like losing another Khalif Raymond. This guy is just highly, highly needed, you know, in his position. So a big loss that Dorsey really is. Bigger than what, you know, a lot of people have kind of put it as. But I feel like it's a big loss. And then, of course, Carlton Davis has this fractured jaw, which from all accounts looks like he's going to be done for the season too. So Lions more than likely lose 4 more out of this game. And here it is Wednesday. We've brought in 1, which is Anthony Pittman. So he's very familiar with the defense. He's very familiar with the team. And so far, there really hasn't been a ton of discussion. There's been a little bit on what the Lions are going to do at cornerback. So that's where I'd like to go next, Eric. Sure. If you want to mention anything about injuries, go for it. But then I want to roll into cornerback and kind of what the situation is and what do we think the Lions are possibly going to do moving forward.
Injuries, man, it sucks, but we just got to suck it up. We got to keep moving on. We can't. I know everybody wants to be doom and gloom, but we just got to focus on the future. We have to keep on moving because if we don't, then we'll get stuck in the mud and we'll be screwed. We won't win another game if all we do is worry about injuries. So we just got to move on and we got to use who we got to use. And that's it. No excuses, not from this guy. Never, ever, ever. All right. So we'll talk about Carlton Davis for a second. Carlton Davis has been playing exceptional football leading up to this injury. No cornerback has earned a higher PFF grade in coverage over the past 4 weeks.
It's incredible, man. He's really played well with a broken hand or a broken thumb.
Yeah. And his ability to anticipate routes and stay in phase and stay in coverage against different types of receivers is something the Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn leaned upon to build Detroit's coverage scheme, and now it's gone. So what are we going to do? So we have a few options. We can move Amik Robertson to the outside. What would you think about that? Moving Robertson to the outside to take over for Carlton Davis as a stopgap.
So moving Amik to the outside as cornerback number 2?
Yeah.
Or cornerback number 1?
No, he'd have to be number 2. You have Sub-Zero as number 1. Arnold's got to be number 1.
I mean, I'll say this. He can do it.
Yeah.
He can absolutely do it. Maybe not my first option.
Yeah.
Because he's been playing so well in the slot, I think it depends on the matchup. So I think that what we're going to see going forward is it's going to be a little bit of a revolving door. And shout out to whoever mentioned, the Lions brought in someone off the practice squad too. Yeah, that was, they had cut, what was it, Isaiah Thomas.
Yep.
And they brought in, I think they re-signed Hackett too, right? They brought in Hackett again, or Hackett.
That was a couple weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, they brought him in, and then they also brought in Stanley Thomas Oliver. I don't know really anything about this guy other than he's been with the Carolina Panthers for 3 seasons. He made 25 game appearances. So he's not really an answer right now, right? He's 6'2", 190 pounds, but he's not really an answer right now to go in and play number 2. I think that he would be backup, right? I mean, he's clearly going to be a depth need. But for me, if you move Robertson on the outside, I think that does help. I think that he can play that position. He has played that position. Matter of fact, I got into arguments with people when we brought in Robertson because they kept on telling me that he was an outside corner coming into Detroit to play outside corner. I said, no, he's going to play slot. That's just where he does his business. And we've got other guys that can play outside. And now you might get your wish. He might be on the outside. That wouldn't be my first answer, though. I think that I would probably want to, and I hate doing this too, but you might want to give Branch an opportunity. You might want to bring Branch off of safety. If Ifeatu Melifonwu was good to go, you put him back there with Kirby, and you bring Brian Branch back down.
We also have Brandon Joseph.
True. We got Brandon Joseph. And Brandon obviously would probably play better at this point than Ifeatu because Ifeatu hasn't really had any game option, any gameplay. So I like putting your best players in a position to win. Now, Branch doesn't have blazing speed, but he's a damn good cover guy. And I feel like, you put him in a position to win, he's going to win. So I think that they're going to experiment, obviously during practice. I would hate to see them ruin, 2 of the best safeties, in the league right now is that duo, with Kirby and Brian Branch. I would hate to see him kind of break that up and ruin that tandem there. But I think that Brian Branch gives you a better opportunity to win now. And that still leaves Amik Robertson in the nickel. You could do it the other way. You could put Brian Branch back down in nickel, and you could put Amik on the outside. Now, the biggest question mark right now is Emmanuel Moseley. Now, I know a lot of you love Emmanuel Moseley, and you're high on Emmanuel Moseley. The guy really hasn't played football in 3 years.
Yep.
So he is not an answer to come in and start playing on the outside. I would roll with Vildor all day, and I know that is not going to be a very welcome take today, but I would roll with Vildor all day right now over Emmanuel Moseley until I get to see Emmanuel Moseley and see what he's all about today, 3 years after all these injuries and not playing, because Vildor's been playing every day. The problem is Vildor is more of a cover corner. He's not a man press corner. We can't put him in a position to have to play man press. He's gonna get burned. I'm sorry, Vildor, but we've got the tape. If you're in a man position, you're gonna get toasted. So we've got to put him in a cover situation where he's playing off man. I guess we're gonna see what AG is gonna do. I think the right choice here, though, is we need more DBs on the field. We need to put everybody out there. We need 5 or 6 DBs on every play. Get fast. You'll be able to get to the ball carrier quicker. You'll be able to double up some of the receivers. You'll be able to shade some of the receivers. I think that puts you in a better position. You might give up some of the run game, but if your front 4, or front 5, if you will, 5 or 6 with a couple of linebackers can manage the run game without the DB help, which the DB help, in the nickel position, and Brian slamming down, from the safety position have been, really impactful this season. So I don't know, man. The door's wide open right now, and I think that Aaron Glenn is going to figure it out. He's been doing an excellent job this season. I can already see some of the headlines. Aaron Glenn's on a hot seat because we have trouble with yardage, and we're giving up too many yards in the running or passing, and like Dan Campbell said, and we're going to hear from Dan in just a minute. As long as we win the freaking game, who the hell cares?
Yep.
Right? Give up 1,000 yards rushing. Who cares?
Yeah. Who cares? Just win by 1. And we have one more option that you have not spoken about yet. A couple of them. So Emmanuel Moseley, he's been a healthy scratch the last 3 weeks. First week was in pregame warmups, he pulled a hamstring. And then the last 2 weeks, he's just been a healthy scratch.
I'm sorry, who was this?
Emmanuel Moseley. And you would think that if he had anything to offer whatsoever, that we would have played him this last week against the Bills. But they went with Dorsey and Kindle Vildor. and, you know, these other players on top of him. And then we have one more player that we have not talked about yet, and that is our second round pick, Ennis Rakestraw, who has not seen much of the field this year because he has been constantly hurt with a hamstring. So this is his second time missing games with a hamstring. He's already had 3 separate instances of missing time in his 8 months with the Lions. So, you know, he missed some time during training camp. He missed some time early in the season, and now he's missed time again. And this time they put him on IR for 4 weeks, but he is eligible to come back this week. They can start. I think they started his clock. They started somebody's clock this week. Was it
I'm sorry. Who? Fetu?
Ennis. Somebody, they started their clock this week. I think it was Ennis Rakestraw.
No, those guys are ready to return.
Yeah, they can return at any time. I think Ennis and Iffy are eligible to come back at any day they want to, but they can start their clock and they can be on the, you know, they can practice for a couple weeks first.
I didn't see where they started the clock on anybody. I mean, I could have missed it. I mean, I miss stuff all the time, so I could have missed it. They opened Emmanuel Mosley up a long time ago, I thought, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yep. He's been a healthy scratch the last 3 weeks.
So to kick it over to the chat here for a minute, let's see what you guys are talking about with the cornerback options. What would you guys do? Trace wants to let everybody know that we got almost 100 people watching. We need to get ads turned off. We just got to get to 60 likes. So if you guys want to get ads turned off, we'll be more than happy to do that for you. You just got to get us to 60 likes. We'll get it taken care of. Let's see here. Yeah, so Carlton Davis, a lot of people are mentioning that he's, you know, with a broken jaw, it's going to be wired shut, which, you know, hey, maybe it's good for, you know, people around him. He won't be talking so much trash. I love Carlton. I love his trash talking. But drinking through a straw. So he's going to be losing some weight. So it's going to be unlikely that, you know, he's going to be able to maintain his weight and be able to come back this season, even if there's a possibility. John Desage, when do we expect Iffy to come back? He can come back at any moment. The Lions just have to put him in the game. You know what I mean? They just got to make the decision to utilize him. Not sure why, you know, what's taking, you know, so long for this to happen. Probably because of all the other injuries that we have elsewhere. That, you know, it's a little bit slow to, I don't think they have a choice now. They're going to have to do something unless they can find somebody floating around a practice squad somewhere that they have high trust in. And it may be the guy that we just brought in. You know, he may have a lot more to offer than what I think. And we'll talk about a couple options here in a minute. But
here's a name for you. Jerry Jacobs.
Yeah, we'll talk about him. We'll talk about him in a moment. So John Desage talking about all the cornerback moves, maybe bringing Brian Branch back down and putting him at the corner 2 position, or even bring him back down into the nickel and sliding Amik Roberts into the outside. It looks like John Desage loves that idea. Michael Bodo loves the idea. Branch says Branch can cover well enough. Let's see, last year, if he came in the last 6 games and caught fire, according to John Desage, that is correct. I would love to see if he come back in and catch fire. Didn't he get like 3 or 4 interceptions like in 5 weeks or something like that? He was playing pretty well. Derek Lewis says it's time for Mosley to earn his pay. Thankfully, it's not a whole lot of pay in NFL terms, but I hear you. Lanner 420X says, I think you put Branch in the nickel slot and Robertson on the outside with TA. Then Brandon Joseph at safety. I think that's kind of what we're all thinking too, Lanner, is Branch has got to be involved in this in some capacity. The thing that I don't like is that Branch is heavily targeted right now by the NFL. And I mentioned this in the post-game show that if you guys noticed at one point, I don't know if they had cameras on during the game, but the refs went and talked to Campbell, and then they came back down and talked to Branch. So something was being said about Branch, and I would love to know what that was. So for any insiders that are listening to this right now, please ask the question. Why were the refs talking to Dan Campbell and then talking to Branch? What's going on there? Why is Branch so heavily targeted? It's like they are on him like flies on you know what. Mm-hmm. And I want it to stop because, you know, he is a big time hitter and he's now targeted. by the NFL that anything he does, they're going to throw a flag, it seems like. Michael Bodo says Emmanuel Mosley is the greatest mystery. Is he ever going to come back? I keep hearing rumors of it, yet no sightings. Yeah, it's kind of like Bigfoot, man. We hear it all the time. It's never a clear picture, right? U of M Dad says, hate to say it, single high safety might be the best option. Probably what you're referring to. I dislike the single high safety. I really do. Against the Bills, we were in single high safety for probably more than 40%. The times that we went to two safeties and rotated them down towards the box, we seem to have better success. So I don't know. The proof's in the pudding, man. If it's something's working, you should probably stick with it, AG. And I got no complaints on AG. It's just in some of these games, and again, hindsight is 2020. It just seems like there was a better option out there. You know, to not stress these guys, to not isolate your linebackers on a running back. It just seems like there was a better option. And if it happens over and over and over again, the same style of play, at what point do you stop it? You know, or do something different? And it just seems like the Lions couldn't do it. And that's what we're going to be looking at right now. If we can't figure out a good cornerback option going forward, well, now we're looking at one of the most penalized cornerbacks playing, you know, the number one role on the best wide receiver. I think that he can do the job, but his aggressiveness could get us in trouble. And I mean that with all sincerity to Terrion Arnold, because I love the way that he plays. He is going to have to figure out how to put his hands in his pants, man, because these refs are ready to throw dirty laundry at him all day. So they've got to get it figured out. I'd rather see some, you know, double up the main receiver, or at least 1.5, you know, and a shade, safety over top, both sides. You're going to give up a little bit. And I guess to Dan Campbell's point, who cares? As long as you win the game, who cares?
So I got a question for you and the chat.
All right. Let me get those ads turned off while you're doing that.
What's that?
Let me get ads turned off while you're doing that. Right. Appreciate you guys hitting the likes.
So last year at this exact time, through this many games, we were 9-4 through 13 games.
Yeah.
And our defense, our backfield, looked like SH, you know what, T.
Yep.
We were giving up yards at an incredible rate. And I knew we were going to make the playoffs. I didn't know we were going to win the NFC North yet. And I did not have confidence that we would make it all the way to the NFC North, or to the NFC Championship game. But what did we do? We put our nose to the grind. We got back in the games. We went on a run at the end, and we made it all the way to the NFC Championship game. And that came after a loss. So this year, would you rather have the backfield we have now, injured and riddled, and what it is now, versus the backfield that we had last year in the playoffs?
This is a loaded question, Eric. So
you know what I mean? Would you rather have CD Deuce or whatever, CJ GJ and Vildor as a starter, and whoever?
Remember, CJ GJ didn't come back until the NFC Championship game, right?
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. You know, that
I like what we have now.
Yeah.
But that's with Carlton Davis. I think that Amik Robertson is a huge upgrade. So let's go one for one. Yep. Brian Branch was playing nickel, right?
Yeah.
Amik is not an upgrade over Branch, but who else was playing nickel back then?
Vildor.
Was it? What? I think Vildor was on the outside. Let me look at something.
I'm just wondering if you're more comfortable with this year's version of defense or last year's. You go heading into the playoff scenarios here. Because if we win these next 3 games, we can be the number 1 seed. If we win the next 2 games, we can still be the number 1 seed and still win the NFC North. Just depends on the other teams, whether they win or lose. This Vikings-Packers game is going to come down to be one of the biggest games of the year.
So last year, week 14-ish, right, versus the Bears, we had Cam Sutton as our 1, Jerry Jacobs as our 2.
Cam Sutton.
Khalil Dorsey and Kendall Vildor as our backups. Brian Branch in the nickel, Will Harris behind him. So Amik Robertson is a huge upgrade over Will Harris and Chase Lucas, which he was inactive that week. But as a 1-for-1 between Brian Branch and Amik Robertson, I would say that, we've gotten weaker in the nickel with Amik in versus Branch, but I think Amik plays phenomenally. I love what Amik does. I don't mean that negatively. I just feel like if you were to trade them off, you would have Branch there all day. But Amik holds his own, man. I mean, he's an absolute dog. He's a fighter. He's scrappy. He's a hard hitter. Love what he does. But Terrion Arnold, the way that he plays right now over Cam Sutton, upgrade. Terrion Arnold, the way that Jerry Jacobs was playing last year, upgrade. So I am fully confident. The only downside is experience. So where Cam Sutton and Jerry Jacobs have a ton of experience, have seen a lot of different things, gone up against, some of these NFL receivers, Terrion Arnold doesn't have experience on his side. So that's a little downgrade, right? You don't have all the experience, but you have an absolute animal as far as someone that can play the position at such a high level. And that's what I do love about Terrion Arnold is that he puts it all out there. And man, does he have the swagger for days. I mean, he's not afraid to chirp it up. Right? He's not afraid to mix it up with these guys. He's not afraid to do what he needs to do any given play to make a play. So I'm confident in Terrion Arnold. I just think we're probably going to pick up a little bit of dirty laundry, and we're going to have to figure out our way through that. So the guy on the other side of the ball, if you were to put Amik Robertson at number 2, is he an upgrade over Jerry Jacobs?
Yes.
Absolutely. So I think we're in a better position right now, but here's the problem. The problem is linebacker play and defensive line. Now we have Levi O, we have Josh Paschal, we have DJ Reader. Those are upgrades over what we had last year at this time, which we had Benito Jones, Isaiah Buggs, Levi O, Broderick Martin, and Aleem McNeil was on IR. Week 14. He had the knee injury last year. So the same knee injury that has been plaguing him since last year is still happening. I don't know why he didn't get surgery last year. So yeah, is DJ Reader an upgrade over Benito Jones and Isaiah Buggs and Levi O? Yes. But now we have DJ Reader and Levi O and Josh Paschal. So we're in better position there. But we don't have a pass rusher in Aiden Hutchinson. Now we had John Kaminsky, but we've got Josh Paschal. So we don't have a speed end. So for your cornerbacks to have the ability to play the way that they've been playing this season, we needed that interior pass rush. And so now that some of that interior pass rush is missing, it could be a problem. Now against the Bills, different story, totally different defense needed. You've got to scheme it a different way. You don't really need a pass rush versus the Bills. You just need to contain. And we couldn't do that. And that's because of the defense that we were running. So I'm not afraid of what, we're going up against, over the next 3 weeks. We're going up against a very broken 49ers team, a very, very broken Bears team, but man, did they have some ball players. And then week 18 against the Vikings, if they stay healthy between now and then, that is going to be a very difficult game. So we're in a little bit of a pickle, but I would agree that we are upgraded in the cornerback room. It's just when you look around the room, it's changed so much from last year. And what the Lions have been doing well this season, they're missing some of those key players now. If Alex Anzalone was on the field right now, I would feel way more confident. And I think that we saw, this last week with Trevor Nowatzki out, man, was he missed. He was missed big time. He has been a bigger, brighter light than I think what people are giving him credit for. I think that he's been playing pretty well. Now, Broderick Martin, speaking of defensive line, is he going to have to step up. It's time to kick it into gear, bud. I need to see him get off the line with some vicious hands, start using that 350 pounds, and start doing some damage. You shouldn't be stood straight up by any offensive lineman. You've got to be the one standing people up. You've got to use those long arms to your advantage. He needs to get vicious, and I'm not seeing it just yet. I'm not saying he won't work out. He's only in year 2. He's a 3-year project. I expect next year is going to be his best year. But right now, we really need to see him stand up. Levi O is going to be the guy that's going to get the start next to Reeder. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Or Pat O'Connor.
Or Pat. Pat's been playing well too.
Yeah. He was dead silent in this last game, but the game before, Pat O'Connor was great. He was just shooting through the gap and getting close to Love a whole bunch of times. So I'd love to see Pat O'Connor get some snaps next to DJ Reeder.
Yeah. I like this comment. Gary Thompson says, Cam Sutton had a hard time staying in the same zip code as the receiver he was covering. So that's a huge benefit to what Terry and Arnold does, right? I mean, this guy is not only in the same zip code, he's sitting inside these dudes' pockets. And it's causing some problems with some laundry because he's too sticky, right? He's almost like...
He didn't get one this week.
No, he played pretty well, man. I mean, for what you could expect, I
think this last game was his best game of the season.
So I wish that I had my other camera up so I could show you the whiteboard. Maybe I can figure out a way to draw this stuff. But I had a defense, for Josh Allen. And I'm not going to get into all the lingo of it. I'll keep it very simple. I think that if the Lions would have put 3 defensive linemen up instead of 4, so get out of base, go to 3 defensive linemen, which is not a defense we use often. And then you bring in, we got Zadarius Smith. Oh, shoot, I just lost my chat. I don't know what is going on with YouTube. You bring in Zadarius Smith, as one end, and then you bring in, either Brian Branch down or somebody, right? So you got three defensive linemen, 1 defensive end, and either a linebacker or Brian Branch, somebody that's going to be kind of rotating down. They don't necessarily have to be up on the line. They just need to be in those flat zones, right? What I kept seeing from our defense is when Josh Allen was fake handing the ball off, he would do a 360 and come and skirt out the other side and do a boot. So no pass rush is going to be able to defend that. It's like 1 second, he's gone, right? He's already outside the pocket at second number 2.5. And then he's already getting the ball off, 3-4 seconds down, down the line there. And it's getting chucked 18 yards down the field. But everyone was biting on the handoff. So if your defensive lineman and your edge are all biting, well, then he's got a free run to the outside. And I think that this was just a lack of, I hate to use the word intelligence, but maybe time in the defense that week or the defensive scheme. They bit too much. You can't bite on every handoff. You've got to have the wherewithal to make sure that ball is put into that running back's chest. And it didn't happen. But it wasn't just the defensive line that was biting. It was also the linebacker. So if everyone's crashed to the right and Allen's going out to the left, you've got nobody spying him. You've got nobody watching him. So he's got all of that free space behind the line of scrimmage, 12, 14 yards down the field. There is nobody in front of him. If you would have just had like this Y technique is what I call it. Okay, Pascal, you bite on every handoff. Nowaski, you go to the right. On the other side, Zadarius Smith, you bite on every handoff. Nyman, you go to the left. So you've got your spy already built in to cover those zones. It is a zone scheme. But that you're only using that zone scheme right there on the line. If they would have just done that, they would have been able to corral Josh Allen. Doesn't mean that Josh wouldn't have put those dudes on skates. Doesn't mean that he wouldn't have been able to either run past them or still get a throw off. But Josh had nobody in front of him. He had zero pressure in his face, and he could just take off downfield or launch the ball to somebody that was getting open because everyone bit. And once they bite, they're now playing catch up. You're not going to be able to catch up to Josh Allen. I think, what's he run? Like sub 4.5?
I don't know.
It has to be. Dude's fast.
Dude was a ghost, man. He was so slippery and so fast. I've never seen in person a quarterback move like that. And anytime he saw the interior in the middle, if there was a hole ever he would just take that ball and be gone. See ya.
Yeah.
Right up the middle for 17 yards and slide. Doing the baseball slide every time. And it just tore us apart.
I know I kind of got off topic there, but so Dan Campbell was talking about to wind it back to cornerback options here.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about Lions having several options at the cornerback position, and he said, quote, certainly E-Man is somebody that we have on the roster. We already have Vildor, who helped us, out in finishing that game. You still got TA, and you're right, Brian Branch. He's somebody that we've talked about. What do we do with Branch? Do we keep him where he's at? Do we move him? We've got Amik Robertson. Does Amik stay inside? Does he go outside? So, end quote. There's plenty of options. All right, the Lions have plenty of options. They still have some playmakers on this team that are very versatile. And then talking about Ifeatu Melifonwu, he will start his practice clock this week. So Campbell did reveal that Melifonwu will return to practice this week. So that might have been the guy that you were talking about. This is his second stint on injured reserve. So Melifonwu has missed the entire season with an ankle and finger injury. That seems a bit egregious to me. Whatever. It's time to get Melly Mel in the game. Quote by Dan Campbell says, we're going to need to practice a little bit to see where some of these guys who haven't practiced in a while are at. And I love that, he considers practice to be very important, because he said the same thing about Aiden Hutchinson, that even though if Aiden is cleared, medically, he still has to practice. And if he's not, fully healthy or, able to practice fully or still has some ghosts lingering, he won't be able to play if the Lions make it to a Super Bowl. So he's got to pass the Dan Campbell test too, not just a medical test. And then talking about Ennis Rakestraw, he says, quote, I don't see him being ready. Not yet. He's close, but not yet. So Rakestraw will not return from IR this week. So there's your 2 cents from Dan Campbell. And now I want to roll into the other 2 cents from Dan Campbell that got all of Detroit and all Detroit Lions listeners just absolutely fired up yesterday. Here we go. Here we go.
For loss.
How would you describe? You win 11 in a row.
The mood in the building
lose,
as you
and then the sky falls.
Turn
Hold
the
on.
page.
And I hate to say it, but we're.
Sorry, we had double play there. Here we go.
You know what happens is, you win 11 in a row, and you lose, and then the sky falls. And I hate to say it, but we're not going to be able to win 11 in a row again for the rest of this season. We're just not going to be able to do it. And, what happens is you get used to eating filet, and I'm talking to all of us. And everything's good, life's good, but you forgot what it was like when you had nothing and you ate your fucking molded bread, and it was just fine, and it gave you everything you needed. And sometimes you got to get punched in the mouth and remember what it used to be like to really appreciate where you are, and we'll do that. And so we got a bad taste in our mouth. We got kicked around the other day. We lost a few guys, and you know what? It's exactly what we needed. This is exactly what we needed. So we're going to bounce back. We're going to respond. We got guys that are about to have an unbelievable opportunity here, and we will play the game any way needed to win. We still got a good offense. We got plenty of defensive players. I can go rattle them off right now. We're going to put the best 11 on the field. We're going to freaking cut it loose. We're going to play with our special teams. And I don't give a crap if we got to win by 1 point for the rest of the year. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to be happy about it. We come out of the game with 50 yards of total offense and we win by 1, you're going to see smiles on my face. I promise you. All right? If it's the other way defensively, we give up 700 yards and we win by 1 point, you're going to see a fucking smile from my ear to ear. All right? I can promise you. So we're going to find a way and we're going to get it done.
I have never heard Dan Campbell drop F-bombs, and he dropped 2 on national radio.
Yeah, and they didn't censor it either.
Nope, they didn't. So you could tell that they weren't on a delay. Now, I think that there was another audio version of this put out where they subbed it in with the word crap.
Yeah, on McAfee.
Might have been. But this is the original version. So if you're sensitive to F-bombs, which we don't like F-bombs on this channel, we try not to use them. I get caught every once in a great blue moon, but Dan Campbell, he said exactly what I said after the game in the post-game show. And I said this was exactly what the Lions needed. This was exactly the type of loss that we needed to see. Even though, of course, we wanted the Lions to win. And yeah, we were right there. We could have won this game. There was quite a few things that went wrong defensively. The offense was doing everything that it could. And I don't care. Look, if you're going to blame an offense that put up 42 points, I don't think you're watching enough football. You can't blame an offense for sputtering a little bit. They still put up 42 points. If you're expecting a team to put up 50 points to win ball games, that is not football. That is not the NFL. That is so rare, it's not even funny. Like, it is extremely rare just to put up more than 35 points a game. But more than 40 or needing 49 or more, someone do the math for me. Someone go look up the history. I bet you it's less than 0.0005% of the time that someone puts up 50-plus points. And the Lions have done it twice this season. For them to do it a third time in a season, probably never been done.
And listen, Jared Goff is the first quarterback to throw for 5 interceptions and win a game, and then throw 5 touchdowns and 490 something yards and not win the game.
Yeah.
It's never been done.
So I get you, Ed. I know that you want to talk about the offense sputtering a little bit, and I'll agree to disagree. That's what we're good at here. You know, I appreciate, everybody that has their opinions, because I have opinions too. And you know what? You're going to agree to disagree with mine. And that's where we can have a valuable, open, honest conversation on this channel. Unlike some others, I'm not going to berate you. Your opinion is your opinion. And you might see the game differently. And that's perfectly okay. I just think that what the Lions did on the offense was enough to win. I think that we needed a defense to just step up a little bit. We needed AG to be a little bit more creative in this game. But again, I can't knock AG. I mean, we ripped off 11 wins in a row. His defense has been so spot on all season. But there's been a trend. After week 6, and I'm only going to say week 6, because that's when the biggest shoe dropped, right? The first shoe, which was Aiden Hutchinson. And then it was about 2 or 3 weeks later, a few more shoes dropped. And if you started to notice, the amount of rush yards that were let up started to get increase. As every week kind of went through, you could see some changes. The defense just started to lose its grip a little by little by little every week as more and more injuries happened. There's never been a team that has gone through this many injuries and still won games in the way that we have won. I'm sure you could point to other seasons where it's been similar. But this is now what? This is 21, 22 players that have been on IR for the Lions this year?
21.
Okay, and so close to 30, including training camp.
Yep.
That's more than half your team. You tell me another NFL team that has lost more than, just 21 is, more than half. I mean, it's almost a full team. It's almost a full starting offense and defense, even though it's all defensive players.
Yeah.
Besides, Montgomery. This has been, in my opinion, an absolute masterclass by what Aaron Glenn has done this season. And I know we're all reaching and expecting for him to do more, like I just said. At some point, we're just going to have to wake up and smell the coffee, right? Hopefully it's Honolulu Blue Brew coffee.
There you go.
Get your Triumph coffee at buymeacoffee.com/rockdon. Sometimes you got to wake up and smell the beans and you're just like, hey, it is what it is. This is not going to be easy, but I'm not going to quit. There is no quit in this team. There never has been. And to Dan Campbell's point, he doesn't give a rip if the Lions give up 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards offense, just win by 1 point. They don't care. They don't care if they have 50 yards of offense, just win by 1 point. Not one of us is going to give a rip if we hoist a Lombardi trophy winning by 1 point. No one is going to look in the stat lines and say, oh, shucks, we only put up 143 yards of offense. Nah, I don't want to go to the Super Bowl parade. Nah. Nope. They put 700 yards of offense on us, but I don't want to go to the Super Bowl parade. So if you can honestly tell yourself that, good for you. But I'm going to be at that Super Bowl parade. You better believe it. And I'll probably be crying the whole freaking time. So no quitting this team. Never will be. Never has been. Dan Campbell's got this team in their marching orders to continue to grind. And that's what JG also said. Here we go.
For loss, how would you describe the mood in the building as you turn the page and start getting ready for the Bears?
Mood in the building's fine. Yeah, of course, there's been some injuries. I think the mood everywhere else is like the sky's falling, but the mood internally is fine. I said it right after the game. I said, yeah, well, I'm sure everyone will say the sky's falling now, but no, the mood internally is fine. We refuse to use any of these injuries as an excuse, and we're going to be just fine. We've got all the pieces we need. Dan said it earlier. We got a ton of guys on defense. We're going to step up, have great opportunities, and on offense, we're going to keep chugging along.
I don't know if you heard Dan was on our morning show and got the whole city fired up. It's gone viral. Is that the way he speaks to you?
It's the way he speaks to all of us. He's telling the truth. You know, there's no fault about it. He's being honest. He's being sincere. He's being genuine. And he's right. You know, if we reacted like everyone else outside of us, we'd have no chance.
You know, I know that Jared Goff hears stuff, and there are some talking heads saying the Lions are done. And I think there's some depressed fans who come from a loving place that think that they can't overcome these injuries. What do you say to those people who are just are depressed about everything that's happened to you guys?
What are they depressed about?
Well, that they're worried that the defense has lost too many guys. Now David Montgomery's out, and they just can they overcome all that?
Sure, yeah. I'm telling you right now, we can. Don't be depressed. We're fine. We're 12-2. We got 3 games ahead of us. We're in good shape.
Okay, Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously he's going to take on a heavier load. And there's a few things about this. One is he's one of the most explosive players in the league, without question. The questions are, can he handle the load? And what happens when defenses are only scheming against just Gibbs and not Montgomery? Those are some of the challenges you'll have with him moving forward.
Sure, yeah, he can handle the load. I mean, we'll have to spell him with somebody else, I'm sure, but he's one of the best backs in the league. I mean, I don't know what you mean. Like, yeah, he can handle the load. He'll be just fine. Obviously, losing David hurts, but we'll overcome it just like we've overcome everything else this year.
In short yardage situations, would it be premature to think that the kid Vaki, who seems like a bowling ball, would be a good guy to take Montgomery's spot in those situations because he seems very difficult to bring down?
Yeah, or we just put it on my back. I'll just QB sneak everything. How about that?
Well, yeah, when it's real short, there are times I'm sitting in the press box and just sneaking yourself, and you've been pretty successful at that.
Yeah, I got a pretty high batting average on that, so maybe we'll just do that, or maybe I'll line up back there. Who knows?
What about Craig Reynolds? He hasn't had they haven't had an emergency break glass situation, but we've seen him in the past do some good things. For his career, he averages over 4 yards a carry. What does Craig bring to the table?
Craig's been a stud, yeah. Ever since he's gotten here, he's filled in when needed and done a great job. Had a nice touchdown last year in the playoff game. He's played great in certain moments for us, and a guy that we trust tremendously. And if his number's called, I know he'll be ready.
When you watch what you saw across the field on Sunday, you had a great game, obviously, 5 touchdown passes. Is Josh Allen playing at a different level right now? The last month since they beat Kansas City.
Yeah, what he's doing right now is pretty special. It is pretty tremendous, and I think even the plays that you thought were going to be negative plays, he was able to make something happen, and it's tough to stop. And certainly he showed that against us, showed it the week before, and like you said, the last month, and he's playing some good ball.
You have that chest pass touchdown that in your repertoire. Now theirs didn't count, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm glad it didn't count. You know, I told him after the game, so you don't got to go chest pass on us, but I'm glad they called that one back.
Dan Skipper, great play, but I want to talk a little bit about yards after catch. He not only reels in the ball, turns upfield, good ball security, puts his shoulder down and gets into the end zone. Evaluate Dan Skipper on that play for us.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was cool to see him score there, and like you said, lower his shoulder on the guy. You know, I don't know if he had to had to do that, but he kind of craves contact and go ahead and dropped his shoulder on the defensive back there and finished it in.
When you look at what you have this week, the Chicago Bears, even though their record stinks, they haven't won in it seems like 2 years. I mean, they're in a big losing streak. They looked bad last night. They play you guys really, really tough. What concerns you about them going forward?
Yeah, they're a good team. They've played us tough, like you said, in the past. And I think last year, we didn't win in Chicago, so that's something that we'd like to get checked off our list this year. And they're a great team. They're got really good players on defense. They're playing with a little bit more life now, and they're doing a lot of stuff that's good. And I know they got beat last night, but I'm sure they'll be ready to play for us.
Do you try to scheme yourselves away from Jalen Jackson, who seems to be one of those really, really good cover guys?
Jalen Johnson, he's a great player. No, that's all right. He's a good player. I scheme away from him. I don't know if that's really the answer. You're just aware of where he's at. Mm-hmm. He is a good player. He is jumpy. He has gotten the ball from me a couple times, so I'm certainly aware of him. But I don't know if scheming away from him is really the answer.
You guys really did move the ball against Chicago the first time, just weren't sticking it in the end zone. Is that game film particularly useful to go back and say, okay, here's what we need to do different, or was it just one of those days?
Yeah, it was just kind of one of those days, but sure, yeah, I think you go back and you look at it and you take it with a grain of salt because I'm sure they're going to do something a bit different, and we're going to do something a bit different. So you try to play that chess game in your mind of what they're going to do, what you want to counter it with, and a lot of answers for everything. But yeah, certainly if we were able to finish in the red zone that game, it would have probably been a little bit of a bigger margin of victory.
By the way, it did, he did drop the ball, but anybody who can question whether you can throw the long ball, I think those were erased with the bomb to J-Mo yesterday. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. Yeah, that's not up to me, man.
The goal is the 1 seed and has been all along, and it's so close. Like, you guys are getting there. How much is that talked about and discussed with 3 weeks to go, 3 big games? The pack is really tight at the top of the NFC. How important is it, and how much do you guys discuss it?
Yeah, we I don't know if we discuss it. We're certainly aware of it, how much the home field advantage is a big factor. I was on a team in 2018. We had a first round bye. That was back when they had 2 teams that had the first round bye, and yeah, certainly a big deal. Now we did go on the road that year and win a game on the road, and so you can do that too. Like, it's not the end of the world if you have to go on the road. But yeah, of course you would like to get that home field advantage. You'd like to get teams coming in here to Detroit to play in front of our fans and make the whole thing go through Detroit, which would be ideal.
It is the holiday season, and I forgot all the details, but what you did with the scholarships that you guys gave out the other day, talk about, if you can, what that means to you, be able to help out in this community the way you have.
Yeah, it means a ton. I've always tried to do that, and ever since I got to Detroit, to be involved and to help where I can and see some need and be able to give back. It's important to me and something I take a lot of pride in and try to make sure I can make an impact every year. And this year, yeah, it was fun to give that to those kids and give them a little tour of the facility and show them around and see their eyes light up a little bit. It was fun.
The website for your foundation it's JG16, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, JG16, if you want to go support it. Jared, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Good luck. We'll talk again next week.
Merry Christmas.
All right. Hey, you guys do me a favor. Spread some positivity, all right?
All right, JG wants positivity. Eric, what did you take away from that interview?
That was awesome. Dude, you can tell he's genuine and honest. When they asked him, do you think this is doom and gloom? Do you think it's all over? And he's like, oh, no, we're good. He was honest. He wasn't hiding anything. You can tell just the way he's speaking and what he's saying. You can tell they're not worried about it. Let's go. Let's roll on to the next one. It was one loss.
So he was having a little bit of fun talking about, you going to put Vaki around the goal line, or is it JG the QB sneak time? He's not afraid to put this team on his back. And, just like Skipper did, in this game, the Lions finally were able to get an offensive lineman a touchdown. And I think that it's just a testament to what this team is built around, because he mentioned, Skipper probably didn't have to lower his shoulder, but he craves contact. And that's what this team is all about. Like they crave it, right? They're not going to give in to anybody. They're going to try to give you as much pain as they can. Within the realm of playing a clean game, they're trying to bring the pain, and they're trying to play as tough in as hard-nosed football as they can. And I think it's just a unique way of, the way that this team has been built around Dan Campbell and what he represents, and how every player on this team is just kind of echoing that same mantra of Dan Campbell and, this big brute lat coach that, I guess stokes fear in people's eyes. And that's what the Lions are trying to be like. They're trying to impose their will on everybody and anybody they can. And it was so good to see Skipper finally get his number called like he does often. And the crowd goes nuts, but this was different. We didn't have a chance to talk about it, in the post-game show. So what was going through your mind when you saw Skipper reach the end zone?
So this is the thing with Skipper. That whole game, there must have been 20 plays where the Lions had number 70 reporting as eligible. And then the Bills, number 70 reporting as eligible on every single play all game long, it seemed like.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost every play. Both teams had eligible tackle in the game.
Very similar offenses. So they're running. Yeah. They're both running very similar style of offense.
Yeah. And the Bills, not once did they ever try to throw it to the eligible lineman, but the Lions did. And it was amazing. It was one of my favorite plays of the entire season. And how sweet it would have been for Dan Skipper to finally get a game ball on the week that his brand new baby is born. It would have been amazing.
Well, he did get a game ball. He got his touchdown ball.
He did, but it would have been amazing for him to get the actual game ball from Dan Campbell after the game in the locker room. That would have been, because the week before he was puking in the trash can, and he didn't get a game ball for that game. And he had one QB pressure all day that game. He played an amazing game filling in for Taylor Decker. And then to this week come out and play such a pivotal role and score an actual touchdown from 11 yards out. This wasn't like it was a 2-yard touchdown. He got the ball out in the flat and he had to run for it. He had some wheels, and I love that he put his shoulder down and blew that guy right through the end zone, right out into the out of bounds. It was awesome.
Well, what I was thinking when I saw Skipper heading towards the end zone, I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Like what are they doing here? I can't believe they're finally going to do it. And then I felt this way.
This is reckless.
Whoever's going to feel the other side of Skipper is going to hurt. So what a reckless machine running down the field. It was great to see. So I want to get into some NFL news and notes, and then also get some more topics here floating about the Lions. But JG, let's talk about JG for just a moment. There's a record that I've been following now for a few weeks, and it was the 300-yard club. So Jared Goff is now one of either 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the NFL that have thrown 40 games of 300 plus yards in his first 9 seasons. He had to get it done this year. It is in a very elite group. I can't find where my notes are because it is buried, because I write all of these shows, and it's thousands and thousands of words every show that I write. So I'd have to go back and find it. But I want to say it was Peyton Manning. Wasn't Tom Brady, but it was Peyton Manning. Oh my God, I can't remember who the other guys are. It's a very elite group. But anyway, Jared Goff joins the 300-yard club 40 times in his career in his first 9 seasons. And then I want to double back on the JMO bomb that he dropped. Can't drop those. That changes this game. But Jared Goff chucked that ball 60 plus yards.
Yeah.
In the air. Perfect. Pinpoint accuracy. Drops the ball. Can't happen.
It would have came back either way because there was holding on the play.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even going to get into the refs right now, but if I wasn't so sick this season, I would be pumping out content left and right, but that's just been one of my issues this year. Is just I've been really sick, battling a lot of things. And that's why you'll never see me make fun of a cancer foundation or cancer patients, because we deal with a lot. And individuals that do that, man, they are just the scum of the earth. If I wasn't so sick this year, I'd be pumping out a lot because I really wanted to go back and highlight all of these ref calls. And I still might be able to get it out at some point throughout the end of the season. But, man, there was a lot of bad calls. You know, you saw the one that was the ref just kind of went, there's my flag. Didn't want to throw the flag. And it's like he was forced to. And it's like, come on, man. It just seemed like this game was against the Lions. The head ref, I don't know who pointed it out in the chat, but the head ref is from Buffalo or went to school in Buffalo, college in Buffalo. Definitely a Buffalo Bills fan from what we could deduce. And the most penalized crew in the game. I mean, they're throwing the most flags the entire season, and it didn't stop this game. So
I'll tell you what, though. I'm really proud of Lions fans, especially on social media this week. I didn't see one single fan blaming the refs for this loss. I didn't see excuses other than I saw a lot of, hey, we have a lot of people, 21 people on IR. We'll get them next time. You know, I didn't see a whole bunch of blaming the refs like the Packers did after they played us on the last Packer game, you know, saying that Jared Goff's knee was down and that should have ended the game and blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, they're still at it. They're still talking about that play. And I'm very proud of Lions fans that they didn't use the refs as a crutch this time. Because I used to be that guy. I used to be the fan that would blame the loss on the refs, but I don't see it that way this time. Not on this game. I think the better team won that day, and that's it. We had our chances. We could have won this game. We just didn't get it that day. Just wasn't our day.
I mean, a lot went wrong. A lot went wrong in that game. Yep. The ball sometimes just has to bounce your way.
Yep.
It just does. A few records here for the Detroit Lions this past weekend, though. Jared Goff had passed Bobby Lane. And that's going to be a topic, too. Is the curse still alive? What in the world is going on with all these defensive injuries? I know a lot of you may or may not still believe in this Bobby Lane curse. You would think that the curse was over after we got to this hot start. And then some people are thinking that the Bobby Lane curse is still alive because of all these defensive injuries. But Jared Goff has put up over 15,710 yards. He has passed Bobby Lane for the most yards in franchise history, behind none other than Matthew Stafford. Of course, had way more seasons than Jared Goff, so it's going to be a while before he gets to that point. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown joins Calvin Johnson and Herman Moore as the only players in team history to log 10-plus TD receptions in consecutive seasons. And then the first trio in NFL history to each have a total of 1,000-plus scrimmage yards and 10-plus scrimmage TDs in consecutive seasons belong to David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Just remember, you don't take running backs in the first round. Just remember that. Sam Laporta is the third tight end in NFL history to produce at least 125 receptions and 15 touchdown catches through 2 career seasons. He joins Rob Gronkowski, sorry, I can't talk, and Jimmy Graham, that they both did it in 2010 and 2011. Sam Laporta has now done it 2023 and 2024. Quick comments on those, and then we'll move on to some NFL news.
Yeah, and also you got to remember, Jared Goff right now has 3,759 yards. He's going over 4,000, no problem. Probably might even get close to 5, because if he has to throw a bunch and we're in 3 shootouts, he might get because he had almost 500 yards in this last game. You know, right now he has 30 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. I'll take it all day. 3-1, I'll take it. That's a very good ratio, and he's only thrown 1 interception since the Houston game. Jared Goff, in my mind, has been on absolute fire. Just amazing. And the fact that he's breaking records and only been here, this is his 4th season, is just amazing to me.
But,
He's been incredible.
He's had one bad game this year, in my opinion.
Yep.
That was the Texans game. We still won the game.
Mm-hmm.
He had one bad game. Now, we've had a couple of games where maybe the offense wasn't doing as much, and we narrowly win those games. But I feel like that was his one bad game. And what's crazy is he had a better game in a monsoon in Green Bay.
Yeah.
So all of these negative narratives on Jared Goff, or everything that's been said about him, I'm so glad that I never jumped in that boat. What I saw when Jared Goff was traded to the Lions was this was going to be a perfect opportunity for a quarterback that has very similar stat lines than the quarterback that's leaving in Matthew Stafford. That really our offense shouldn't regress. It was just going to take a little bit of time for them to figure it out and gel, which didn't take much time at all. It took about a season, and then they really started to get it together. 2022, I think we started scoring 35 points a game for like the first 4 or 5 weeks or whatever it was. We may not have won those games, but we were putting up points. And that was, speaking to the defense and the defensive issues that we had. And, this year the defense finally gets figured out. Aaron Glenn finally gets, the players that he needed. And now he's lost just about everybody that he's needed. And it's going to be different. Couple of good quotes and comments in here. Kurt Hartshorn says that we're going to get it done for the rest of the season. Just have faith in the team's resilient nature. We can beat anyone, anytime. Go Lions. And then John Barfield says, the coaches are often pushing next man up. The practice squad guys have been in our system. They had a preseason and 14 games of training. I say next man up, not new guy up. So both good comments. Thank you for joining the conversation this morning. And we'll try to highlight some more if we can. Oftentimes I forget about the chat. So I'm trying to get all these topics out, but we'll try to do a better job of getting you guys more involved. So NFL news. We really haven't spoken a whole lot about the Dan Campbell, 12 minutes, you go for an onside kick. I have, to a degree, where I said I just wouldn't have done it. I felt like you put it on your defense one more time. And if they can't get it done that time, well, then you're going to have to do some onside kicks. But at least just one more time. So the guy that I've wanted to join this team, which probably is not going to play football ever again this season, or ever again, period, J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt, a legend in his own right, criticized Dan Campbell after the game this week. He says, I think I could wrestle a small bear. Doesn't mean that I should try it. I love what DC believes in his squad, and so much that he thinks everything they do will be successful. But onside kicks have a 7% success rate. Trying one with 12 minutes left while only down by 10 was insane. It was a 10-point game with 12 minutes left. I don't understand. And I think that's the point that everyone, is taking away from this game, is that there was still 12 minutes. And I don't care if you take the longest, time of possession for the Bills that game and they do it again. Maybe you get a good kickoff. Maybe instead of doing an onside kick, maybe you drop that kick, on the 10-yard line and force them to return it and you punch the ball out. Instead of an onside kick, maybe you force a turnover. And now you're in your own territory and you're ready to score. I would have tried to do something like that before an onside kick. I would have spirited up my defense and maybe do, a little bit of zero blitzing when it's at that point to say, okay, now we don't have a choice. Our containment's not working. Josh Allen's doing whatever he wants to do. And no, blitzing Josh Allen is not really the answer, because he's just going to get the ball out quick, or he's going to run. See, I think that's the thing that people forget with a mobile or dual threat quarterback. This is not a guy that's sitting in a pocket for 4 or 5 or 6 seconds. This is a guy that is evading the pocket and stretching the play for 4 or 5 or 6 seconds. Big difference. You can't blitz a guy that is damn near at the sideline after the ball is hiked. You get what I'm saying with this, Eric?
Yep.
You can't blitz a guy that does that. You can blitz him. What's he going to do? He's going to run to the sideline, and then he's going to chuck the ball downfield. That's what he does. So if you blitz him, he's just going to continue to do that. Our guys, I mean, I don't care what level of cornerbacks you have, hardly anybody is going to stay sticky after 4 seconds. It's extremely hard to do. And even if you are sticky, and these wide receivers are running comeback routes because they're smart and they know to run back to the quarterback, it's going to be hard to get in front of them. And they're going to complete the ball anyway. It's just a style of offense that they run. It's chaos, but it works for them.
Yep.
You know, it is what it is. So JJ Watt was not, a big supporter, of the call. A lot of people were not. But at the same time, I still support Dan Campbell. I mean, it's few and far between does he have a failure. And again, hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah.
You had something on the Falcons, Eric. What's going on with the Falcons?
So, Michael Penix Jr. has been named the starter for the Atlanta Falcons over Kirk Cousins, who was my pick to be comeback player of the year. But the last 4 games, he has thrown 9 interceptions and 1 touchdown. So the coach, Raheem Morris, has decided enough is enough. I don't know if it was fan pressure or pressure from the media, but enough is enough. And Michael Penix Jr. will make his first start this weekend.
I don't understand this. So they are still in playoff territory.
Yep, they're 1 game out.
They're giving Kirk $100 million guaranteed to play what, through 15 weeks of football, and now you're a backup. Do they think that they're going to be able to trade this guy next year?
They're still going to be on the hook for like $37 million, even if they trade him.
Well, they're on the hook for all of it.
Yep, because it's guaranteed. His whole $180 million was guaranteed.
No. He had a 4-year 180 with $100 million guaranteed.
$100 million guaranteed.
Yeah,
okay.
so $25 million a year was guaranteed. But when he is shipped off, they're going to be responsible. I don't have it pulled up, but they're going to be responsible for this year and next year, and then whatever escalators or bonuses were extrapolated out with void years. That's all going to land on the Falcons.
Yeah.
So yeah, this quarterback experiment has imploded for the Falcons, and this is going to be interesting to watch. You better believe I'm going to tune into the Falcons game. If Penix can revive this team and get him into the postseason, well, then Raheem Morris is a genius. If they fail to make the postseason, I don't know if Raheem Morris retains, what he's doing. I don't see it. I think it's a bad idea, but we'll see. I mean, Michael Penix has an amazing arm. I just don't know if he's ready. I don't know if he's ready to take a team that is on the verge of postseason to the next level. In other news, Michael Vick has accepted a college football head coaching position.
Wow.
So he is going to head coach the Norfolk State football program. So he's going to be getting into, one of the lower tiers of football, but at least he's starting somewhere. And then last week, you had mentioned how Teddy Bridgewater had brought back or brought his team to the championship, right? In Florida. And they won it. So
and now he wants to come back to play.
Yeah. And I don't know who's thinking that why would Teddy Bridgewater come back to the Lions? Are we this thoughtless?
Yeah.
Why would Teddy come back to the Lions? He's not coming. He's done. He's retired. I can't stand clickbait. Teddy Bridgewater, why do we don't even need him? Why would we need him?
I don't think he comes back to us, but he said he wants to come back and play.
Yeah, that's not happening. He would have to go to a team that needs a quarterback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Lions don't need him. He doesn't want to come back and sit on the bench.
No.
I'm sure he would love to play.
And he'd be rusty and everything. He hadn't played in a year. And yeah.
Well, he got his season done and over with. So, maybe it's he wants to latch onto a team that, is making a postseason run here that potentially has a Super Bowl opportunity and he wants to win a ring,
That'd be a backup for somebody.
Yep. All right, let's get to the mailbag segment here.
All right.
I've had a lot of questions, a few emails about the Lions, and this is the doom and gloom panic button segment. So if you guys have pressed the panic button, I understand. If you're doom and gloom, if you are even SOL at this point, I understand. I get it. But Eric, tell us what you've seen on social media and what's happening out there.
So a whole bunch of stuff. So this first one I'm going to tell you guys is kind of a gloomy one. And this is from Robert Griffin III on X on Twitter. The Detroit Lions had the team to win it all with David Montgomery, Carlton Davis, Khalil Dorsey, and Alex and McNeil injured. He said Alex McNeil. I don't know. Aleem McNeil injured this week. And 21 guys on IR. The Lions are absolutely falling apart. Detroit fans finally got the dominant team they deserve, and injuries are derailing their team. I don't know so much about that.
Well, I mean, injuries are definitely derailing this team. That's there's no denying that.
So another one. Heading into week 16, the Lions are ranked 4th on the NFL's power rankings. They say this thing is falling apart at the seams, and it's sad to see.
Yeah, it's definitely sad to see.
All right. Now, here's a good one. This one came from Jody on Facebook. 2 days out from the deflating loss on Sunday, I'm feeling a lot more confident once again in this team that just can't seem to be shaken. I think we are still going to the Super Bowl. Matter of fact, I still think our team will be bringing Lombardi back home to the Big D. This team, first and foremost, deserves it. Secondly, the long-suffering true Lions fans deserve it. Go Lions. And that's one thing that I noticed. A lot of these new, what people are calling bandwagon fans, as soon as we had a loss, see ya, goodbye. They're back to rooting for the Chiefs or whoever they wanted to go root for before the Bills. And I kind of see why some of the old school Lions fans weren't digging some of the new fans. And I had one of my friends get mad at the game for the first time ever. He's had season tickets for almost 30 years. And he got mad because somebody behind him was drunk and belligerent and ruined the game day experience for him. And it happened to be another Lions fan. It wasn't even a Bills fan. It was another Lions fan. And here's one from X. All the bandwagoners have jumped ship. Time for us battle-hardened one pride to take on the world alone again, and everyone writes us off. Whilst we have Ben Johnson and the offense, we can still land a punch harder than anyone can get thrown at us.
You know, it's really unfortunate that some fans get that way at the game, and I get it.
Yep.
Like, I can get really passionate in the stands.
Mm-hmm.
I can have fun both ways. Sometimes I just sit there and watch the game and I write notes and everyone around me is like, Will, get off your damn phone and you know, get up and do things. And it's like, well, I got to make notes, man. I got a show to do. And I am watching the game intently, but this standing up and down business in section 105, I mean, it's up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And it's like, okay, enough's enough. But you just don't normally see people get out of control, but there are a few. And it can ruin your game. It can ruin your experience. Yeah. And unfortunately, you know, there is a method to have those fans removed. You just have to text the number that they display, you know, on the big screen there. I don't know what it is.
They haven't been putting that up recently.
I don't even know what it is, but there's something that you can text that if someone's way out of control, but I would refrain obviously from having someone kicked out, you know, just try to talk to them. And if, you know what, if they're out of control and they start shit with you, then I guess just turn around and then you got to text the Lions. But you hate to see that kind of stuff go on because people pay really good money to go to these games. And sometimes these people have only been there for their first game. and they want a good experience.
Here's a good one from Facebook. This is from Paul. So what's Sue doing these days?
Yeah, I think he's way past his opportunity to come back.
All right. And now we're going to kind of jump into something else with this. And this is off Facebook from a gentleman named Dale. And he says, just a theory, but do you think some of these major injuries, especially that occurred this past Sunday, have something to do with the turf at Ford Field? I remember in the past, Lions running backs could never make a full season, always blowing out their ACL or some other ligament. Well, I would say to Dale that we just replaced the field last year because of injuries, and they did it 2 years early because they wanted to have a safer field for the players. And I really don't believe that grass is any better than this field that we have now. I've been on this field. I felt it. I ran around on it. I walked on it. And it is like the most luxurious, mushy carpet ever. I don't know how the players run so fast on it, but if you get tackled, there is some actual, mush to it. It's
Cushion.
not just a hard surface on top of pavement like the Silverdome was. The Silverdome was just basically AstroTurf carpet on concrete.
Yeah, there was a little bit more to that, but it was definitely a harder surface. I've been on both too. I will say this. Grass has a give. So the grass seed is, it's going to pull out of the dirt. So when your foot gets stuck, if you're getting tackled funny and instead of hyperextending, a knee or something like that, your foot's usually going to break, out of the soil most of the time. Whereas on turf, AstroTurf or the fake turf, sometimes your foot gets stuck and it doesn't go anywhere. But that's, the soft tissue, the ligament injuries that they're speaking to. Yeah, there might be more in the fake fields than there is on regular grass. But I think a lot of the injuries that we're seeing, okay, Ali McNeil and Aiden Hutchinson, I mean, those are pure friendly fire or, legs banging again, on leg. That's not anything to do with the turf.
Same with Khalil Dorsey. It's friendly fire.
And Khalil, yeah.
And then Alex Anzalone. That had nothing to do with the turf.
Right.
He ran into another player.
Davenport, nothing to do with the turf.
Exactly.
So there's plenty of Carlton Davis, nothing to do with the turf.
Yep.
So there's 4 or 5 of your top players, clear on special teams, had nothing to do with the turf. So injuries are going to happen. Look, these guys are putting miles upon miles upon miles on these ligaments, and it's only they're all ticking time bombs. It's a matter of when, not if, they're going to have a problem. And, sometimes they start a season with, a minor tear that, maybe it just seems like, their knees hurting, and they get through half the season and it just decides to rip the rest of the way. Might be a full thickness tear, or maybe it's a half thickness tear and it requires surgery, or it doesn't. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen on any turf, in my opinion. But, to your point on Sheila Hamp, she wanted to make sure that she had the latest and greatest technology. She heard the players, that they wanted the safest possible field, and she stepped up and had that done. So, again, big shout out to her for listening. There's no expense spared on, these players, and they have a state of the art, technology, workout rooms and everything like that. So training rooms, they've done a really good job. And I think that was another point that you were going to make, right? Was it about the trainers?
Yep. Yeah. I think, a lot of people are like, after the game, we're like, so do we need to look at our training staff, our health and conditioning staff? Do we need to fire them all and get new staff? And I don't think it has anything to do with it. Nothing at all.
No, I don't know their workout regimens. And again, I'm not some professional, special trainer or anything. I have no idea what they're doing, but I could imagine that they're all going through, the right type of training that you've got to focus on all the little muscles around the ligaments and the tendons. And then you work your way out to the big muscles. You can't just have all the big muscles be big and bulky. It's everything that's in between all the little stuff that really helps to keep it together. If they're not focused on doing those types of exercises, then yeah, you could have more soft tissue damage and soft tissue injuries or ligament injuries, whatever you want to call it. I assume that they're all doing the right stuff, whether it's independently or at the team facility or both. I can imagine that they're all doing it. Now, will they maybe take it a next step forward? Is there more, machines and things that they can bring in, or a different style of training that they can bring in, to focus more on soft tissue? Maybe. I don't know. But without knowing, I'm not going to comment and say that they're doing it wrong. Yeah. No idea.
Yeah. All right. And I have one last one, and then I have to go. Of the 15 Super Bowl matchups where the teams faced each other in the regular season, 7 of those teams who lost in the regular season won against that team in the Super Bowl.
Repeat that one more time.
So of the 15 Super Bowl matchups where the teams faced each other in the regular season, like the Lions and the Bills did, 7 of those teams who lost in the regular season won in the Super Bowl.
Nice. We just got to make it there.
Yeah, we just got to make it there, and we got a 50-50 chance.
Well, that's the thing. You play a team once that you don't play often.
Yep.
You got to learn each other. Eric, I know you got to run, man.
Yep. I got a doctor appointment, so I will see you guys all tomorrow morning.
All right, buddy. You have a good day. Take care. This scene might be a little off because I didn't plan on updating this one. Apparently, the date's been off all day. I mean, it's definitely not the 13th. What's going on? I thought that was an 8. Looked like an 8 to me. So to finish out today's show, I know we've gotten to a lot of different things today, but we haven't spoken a lot about roster options. Who can the Lions bring in, and who have they brought in? Well, number one, they brought back Anthony Pittman. Okay, now Anthony Pittman has been around quite a while for the Lions. Obviously, the Lions are desperate. Right? They need some bodies. They need guys that are familiar with this defense, if they even exist right now. Now, Pittman spent the first 4 years of his NFL career in Detroit, which began in 2019 and then ended in 2023. He was a local product of Wayne State, which means that he was probably one of those local visits, right, that didn't count. And he's only played on special teams for the most of his career as a practice squad elevation during his time in Jacksonville this season. So he really hasn't been able to see his role utilized like it was in Detroit, which is weird to me because Pittman actually played pretty well. I just think, he was beat out in a room that had too much talent. 5 of the top 6 linebackers on the Lions roster are currently injured or on IR or both or gone for the season. So bringing him back was a very smart move because he's going to be able to slot in. Now, he's not going to be an upgrade, over what we've had, in my opinion, but he's somebody that knows this defense and can play in multiple roles, not only on special teams, but, he's going to have to play some defensive linebacker role, at least as a backup to Nowaski and Nyman. At some point, Jack Campbell right now is just playing his heart out, man. He's playing like 100% of snaps right now. He doesn't have a choice. So it was good to see that they brought, at least a familiar face back. Well, then the question is, who are they going to bring in for Carlton Davis? Well, I can tell you who they're not going to bring in. And that was the guy that I expected the Lions to bring in during free agency. And it was a name that was floated around just a couple of weeks ago. But Kansas City beat us to the punch. So Kansas City brought in Steven Nelson. He has returned to where he began his career. And in my opinion, this was the most experienced, best free agent cornerback on the market that I felt would have been a huge benefit to the Lions. Now, he kind of stayed away from football and was not going to join a team until he had an opportunity to win a ring. So he's now motivated to get back and to be on a team that has, Super Bowl aspirations. So that is a guy that the Lions are not going to be able to bring in now. That opportunity is gone. So then there's been some talk and conversation about another guy that's been kind of sitting available, And I'm not really sure if this is a guy that's going to fit the Lions, and his name is Xavier Howard. Now, as more injury concerns have started with the Chiefs following Chamari Connor's concussion after a Week 15 victory against the Browns, it kind of added to maybe the Chiefs needing to bring in, another playmaker, another corner, somebody that has a lot of experience. And Xavier Howard was on that list. Now, for whatever reason, it didn't happen. They brought in Steven Nelson. My only worry about Xavier Howard is that I think he's still allegedly under the eyes of law enforcement. Something going on legal-wise, and I'm not going to comment on what it is, but there's something looming, and I don't think it's been settled yet. I couldn't find anything right away this morning on it. And I'm wondering if that is even going to be a potential for the Lions, because typically the Lions aren't going to bring guys in with checkered past or guys that are facing things right now. He would be a great opportunity for the Lions to have somebody kind of fill in that has a ton of experience. He led the league in interceptions in both 2018 and 2020. He had 7 in 12 games in 2018. He had 10 in 2020. So does he provide immediate depth? Absolutely. Maybe some concerns still remain about his performance level compared to his peak years, probably. And there's also been question as to whether or not he can adapt quickly to any system that he's able to join at this late stage in his career and the season. So, bottom line, with the Lions, cornerback room or DB room, secondary, kind of in disarray right now. They still have a lot of options, and it looks like the Lions are going to try to move interior first. They're going to work from the inside and try to move guys around and put them in spots first, and then maybe on the back end try to backfill with some depth guys. And maybe Xavier Howard just is not one of those guys that the Lions are going to look at. So I'm kind of out on both. And then I was really high on an opportunity for running back. Now, the Lions are in good shape with Craig Reynolds and Sione Vaki. So I'm not all doom and gloom on the running back room. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's going to get a lot of touches. This guy's going to probably play at least 75% of the snaps, at least right now. I would say that, in obvious passing downs, I think Ben Johnson would be unwise to put in Vaki or Reynolds in obvious passing downs, because I think it's going to tell the other, team what you're doing. So they're going to have to be really careful on how they utilize Reynolds and Vaki, because before you really couldn't tell what the Lions were going to do with Jahmyr Gibbs or Montgomery in the game, right? Either one of them could catch a pass out of the backfield. As a matter of fact, this last game when the Lions decided to finally use a little bit more of the screen, Gibbs had an incredible game, catching the ball. So to me, it's going to be interesting to see what the Lions do schematically on the offense now that we're going to be without, one of the best tandems, in the league. We're going to be without Montgomery for the rest of the season. But there's a guy that popped up this week, and that's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, I know a lot of people were excited about this opportunity, but then I found some information, and I don't know if you guys have seen this yet, and I'm going to read you what this article said. It says, and this is the headline, Chiefs cut Clyde Edwards-Helaire after the running back's career derailed by PTSD. So, man, I was super excited to see that Clyde was getting cut. But then when I read this, I'm like, okay, what's going on here? What sort of PTSD is this guy suffering from? And I don't know that this article really made it any more clear, but I'll just read a little bit. It said, Clyde Edwards-Helaire roller coaster career with the Chiefs is over. Kansas City waived the former first-round pick on Monday as he was buried deep on the depth chart after missing the start of the season with PTSD. His quote was, "Love you, KC, a family I didn't know I needed. Y'all made a kid from Baton Rouge dreams come true. To the Chiefs Kingdom, it's all love and support I had in troubling times will forever be unmatched from you guys with love." Now he's a first-round pick out of LSU. He won the national championship with Joe Burrow. He ran for 803 yards and 4 touchdowns as a rookie. He was a critical part of the Chiefs team that lost to the Bucs in the Super Bowl that season. However, he's missed some chunks of the following seasons due to injury and eventually fell behind the rising star of Isaiah Pacheco on the team's starting roster. Now, it was revealed that he had an NFL reserve non-football illness, so NFI list is where he landed this season, and it was revealed that he was battling PTSD. According to this article, he missed the first 4 games before he was eligible to return. That makes sense. It was made aware that he opened up about his PTSD earlier in that month. Quote was, "Sometimes I'm admitted into the hospital, something I can't stop throwing up, and it's just, I know, pretty much to stop it. Real bad dehydration, but it's really just mentally just not being there." So my heart goes out to this kid, man. Whatever he's battling, and his quote was, "I'm living with PTSD. It's no small feat. It's hard and overwhelming. Within the last month, I've had many flare-ups, and amazing staff here at the Chiefs have been helping me get through the tough times. I'll be back rolling next practice." So it sounds like he's up against something right now. So I guess we're probably out on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It just wouldn't make sense that if he's battling something like this, to bring him into the team right now that has a bunch of issues with injury, that this probably would exacerbate whatever he's got going on. The Lions are in a little bit of chaos right now. Yeah, but it really sucks for him, man. I hope that we don't see a bunch of negative reporting on this guy, because he's been doing whatever he can, and whatever he's battling mentally wise, I hope he gets through it. MVP Harris says, "Go Lions!" Big $1.99 super chat, man. Appreciate that. So who's left? Aubrey Thomas in the cornerback room. He's available. Former 3rd-round pick out of U of M was just let go by the San Francisco 49ers. Now, he's kind of been a bottom feeder for the 49ers, hasn't really produced a whole lot during his career. And now, due to other injuries and positions of need for the 49ers, more attention was put on those positions. Aubrey Thomas was waived. So I'm not a big fan. I'm sorry, Ambry Thomas, not Aubrey Thomas. I'm not a big fan of Ambry Thomas in his career. Could it be a depth piece? Probably. But he's not a starting option. And right now, I think that when you're looking at bringing guys in, again, to John Barfield's quote earlier, it's not it's not this next man up from somewhere else, right? It's the next guy up internally. So I think the Lions are going to be looking internally to try to fill some of these spots, backfill with some guys, off practice squad, just for depth, because you're going to need depth. Last segment from today. Trace wanted to add to Clyde Edwards-Helaire segment there that it stems from an incident that he had during college. I'm interested to know what that is. Really interested to know what that is. Jay-Z wonders if Brad would bring back Zonovan Knight off the New York Jets practice squad. Hey, there's an option. Man, that guy was electric when he was with us. I like Zonovan Knight. It's too bad he had that really bad hip injury. All right, so last segment of the day here. What's going on for the playoff scenario? Well, I think it's still the same as what it was last week. So NFL playoff scenarios, what if the Eagles, Lions, and Vikings all finish with the same record? What's going to happen? Well, it has never been more important for an NFL team to nail down the number 1 seed than it is right now for the Detroit Lions. The number 1s are the only teams to get a first-round bye in the playoffs, as you well know, while every other team must battle it out to make it to the next week. There's an interesting situation brewing in the NFC right now. 3 teams, Eagles, Lions, Vikings, could all end the season with identical records. And right now, all 3 of those teams are 12-2 with 3 games left to play. So over the next 3 weeks, how will the NFL determine who gets the bye? Let's find out. Right after my sip of Honolulu Blue Brew coffee. And by the way, we do have to give away some C3 mitts today. As you guys probably noticed, the C3 mitts trailer that plays before the episode. C3 mitts are going to be given away today. We've got 2 days to make up. We got Monday to make up, which is which is your multi-mitt. And then today, as Wednesday, is any mitt Wednesday. So we're going to make sure that we pick out 2 people from the chat today that are going to win. So, and if you've won last week, I installed the new rule. If you guys do not email me within 24 hours, I have to move on, and either we won't select anybody new or we just move on, period, and find somebody else. If you want to, gift your gloves to somebody else, what I would say is you receive the gift and you just send it to somebody else. It's just too much for us to keep track of, honestly. So what happens with the NFL tiebreaker? Well, the NFL has several criteria in place to break ties, and it begins with teams' records in games against each other and continues through various scenarios. If the tie still hasn't been broken after each category, the final step is a coin toss, which we will never get to. Here are, Wayne, I'll get back to you in just a moment. Here are steps to break a tie in the NFL between teams from different divisions. So divisional ties are determined with the additional step of divisional record. So first, it's head-to-head. That's the best one-loss tied percentage in games among the clubs. As you know, we don't play the Eagles, so that's not going to happen. Then it's best one-loss tied percentage in games played within the conference. That is where I think that this is going to go. So the NFC North factor. The Lions beat the Vikings in the first meeting in October. So that gives the Lions the edge right now going into the final week of Week 18. The Vikings have that single divisional loss, while the Lions have a big goose egg. We have no divisional losses, which makes this Bears game the most important game on the schedule right now. We have to beat the Bears. That allows us to stay above the Vikings with divisional losses. But again, both teams play one other divisional game, which is Week 18, and the Vikings play the Packers in Week 17. So, assuming the Lions take another loss, let's just say we take one more loss and it's not Week 18. We'll say it's against the 49ers for now. If we beat the Bears and then the Packers beat the Vikings, if we were to still tie, Lions get not only the North, but we would also be above them for the 1 seed. So it could very likely come down to this final game if, of course, all of us continue to win. Now, if the season ended today, this is what you guys really need to pay attention to. If it ended today, the tiebreaker would be between the Lions and the Eagles. But because they did not play each other this season, there is no head-to-head, and we are not in the same division. So we go to conference record. And as of December 17th, the Eagles have 2 conference losses. Week 2 against the Falcons, Week 4 against the Bucs. While the Lions only have 1 conference loss, and that is against the Bucs in Week 2. So the Week 15 loss against the Bills doesn't count. So if the season ended right now, those conference losses would determine the number 1 seed in the NFC, and the Lions would own the tiebreaker over the Eagles and the Vikings, making us the number 1 seed. So that just to me means if we continue to win out and they continue to win out, the Lions remain the number 1 seed if we tie. Now, prior to the season, I put out a few predictions. The first prediction is I said the Lions were going to finish 14-3. The second part of that is I said that it was going to take us a 1-loss record of 14-3 to maintain a first seed opportunity. And I also thought that the NFC North was going to come down to like Week 16, Week 17 at the most. And we're still all in it. We are still there. The Lions can still be better than 14-3 if they win out. But if they finish 14-3 and the other 2 teams take another loss, that prediction holds true. Now, Eric's prediction was 15-2. And that is where we want to be. We want Eric to be right. We want to make sure that the Lions can finish out this season without another loss, because if that happens, your Lions get the 1 seed. Now, there's some other scenarios here. Let's just say the Lions don't get the 1 seed. A lot of us are worried about home field advantage, right? Well, what happens then if that 1 seed loses in the first week or the divisional round? Lions get through the first divisional round or the first round in wild card. And let's say the number 1 seed, whoever it is, Eagles, Vikings, if they lose, Well, then it goes to the next best record in the conference, which would be the Lions. And your Lions would then maintain home field advantage as long as they win. So there's still an opportunity for us to host at least 2 playoff games, which would be divisional and the NFC Championship. So there's still hope. There is still hope for it. And Wayne, as far as getting this hat, I was going to produce some Rocked On merchandise. I still haven't figured out what I want to do, but I had a t-shirt store and all that stuff, and it really wasn't being utilized right. And someone was supposed to rebuild it for me, and they didn't. So I'll get it put back together, but honestly, next season is probably going to be a better season. But I will get some stuff put together that you guys can order. I'll try to work on it this week, but I've got a lot of catch up to do. So that's what I want to talk about, man. These playoff matchups, records, scenarios, whatever you want to call it, we're still in it. We're in the postseason already. So even if we drop to a 5th seed or a 3rd seed or whatever seed, all it takes is for that number 1 seed to lose in the first week. And it can happen. Any team is has the potential to lose. So the Lions can still host a couple of games as long as, some of these games go the right way. But right now, obviously, we need to win out. But most importantly, we need to win against the Bears. And if the Eagles and the Vikings can just drop one game, which is highly unlikely for the Eagles. They've got, the Giants twice, and I think the Commanders once. Now, the Commanders could do it. And I think that's what we're hoping right now, is that the Commanders can drop the Eagles. Because it's unlikely that the Giants are going to take care of the Eagles. Usually, when they play the Giants at home, late in the season, when they had Danny Dimes, they usually could give the Eagles a run for their money. Not this season. They're just not going to be able to do it. So we need Washington to win. So there we go. That's the end of today's show. We're still in this. This is just not a time to give up. Panic, sure. You can be panicked. We can all be a little bit panicked. Depressed, no. There's no reason to be depressed. To think about the fact that we have gone, now we're 12-2, 11 wins in a row. And we've done it with the defense that we have. We've done it without, a ton of elite pass rush. We got Z Smith. In my opinion, he's elite. Kind of didn't have a great game this last week, but you could argue he's one of the better pass rushers in the league. Pass rush doesn't mean squat anymore. It really doesn't. I mean, you need it in certain instances. I think with more pocket presence quarterbacks, you're going to need more of a pass rush or some style of, a manufactured rush. I think that what we've witnessed from this Lions team is the total transformation from last year to this year. We've had an elite pass rusher for the last few seasons. And even with an elite pass rusher in Aiden Hutchinson, we didn't win every game. We definitely didn't win 11 in a row. So you can't say that pass rush is going to win games. You just can't. We have the proof. Go look at the records. Go look at the games that we've won and lost. What was the biggest transformation was interior pressure in a really good backfield. And now that we're struggling with Carlton Davis missing and everybody on the defensive line has been banged up one way or the other, and half of our interior pass rush is missing now we've got a challenge. But that doesn't mean pass rush would have fixed it, because I got to be honest. You can't carry 11 pass rushers on your defense. You going to put a pass rusher at corner? You going to put a pass rusher at linebacker on both sides? Are you going to put pass rusher at safety? You're going to put pass rushers at defensive tackle and nose tackle? It just doesn't work. There's only so many positions. And there's only so many guys in the NFL that are available. So the only way that we would have had an additional pass rusher this season is if we would have taken one in the draft. And maybe later on this week, if I get time to go through some of my draft options. Now, I'm not going to the draft and saying, hey, season's over. Now it's time to look forward to the draft. I'm not saying that at all. I've already been looking. And I will say that there are going to be some options this season for the Lions to grab a pass rusher, which according to my roster roulette, this is the next season, this next draft, where the Lions are going to finally bring in another pass rusher to match opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. And we should still have Z Smith next year. I'm expecting that he's still going to stick around and is not going to want a new contract and is going to be able to play out his contract. We'll see. We'll see where that goes. But assuming we have Z and Aiden, I still believe the Lions are looking to drop another one in the bucket so that we have another pass rusher on the come up and someone that can work his way into a rotation. And then there's no let off, interior or exterior. There won't be any let off. And then you're kind of protected for injuries too. And I say that, knock it on wood, because we've lost everybody this season. And I couldn't imagine if we have another season that, like this year, next year, that would just be god awful. This year's definitely been the exception, not the rule. So I get it. I know the simple answer is, well, just rush the quarterback. Well, believe me or not believe me, if you would have rushed Josh Allen, he would have still beat us the same. Because our guys can't run as fast as he can. And with the way that they were all biting down on the defensive line, he was just going to continue doing what he was doing anyway, which is just rolling outside and then chucking the ball downfield. So go look at every team that has rushed Josh Allen. It just doesn't work. I don't care what game you look at that they've played. They just don't get a lot of sacks on Josh Allen. Just doesn't happen. Now, was it last year? No, it was the year before when we played the Bills that we got a couple of sacks on Josh Allen. But if you notice, those sacks came from the pocket, and Josh was sitting in the pocket. They've elevated that offense since McDermott has been a part of it and a part of that team. They have elevated that offense to do what they're doing now, which is getting Josh outside, getting him outside the pocket. So this game is just a game to learn from. There's a lot of things that we're going to learn that are going to help us get ready for the playoffs. It was a much needed game. Of course, I wish we would have had the win, but now we've got to learn from it. And now we got to get guys ready to not make the mistakes that were made in this last game and to keep us in close to winning the game, at least. We could have been so much closer. Wayne Rogers says Josh Allen is elite and at the top of his game right now. We won't face anything like that again this season until the Super Bowl. And you know what? We don't lose if we face the Bills again. We do not lose. We do not lose 2 games in a row, number one. Number two, we have now learned what they're going to do. And they haven't changed anything from win or loss. The Bills have not changed what that offense does. They just took advantage of us, and where we were missing a lot of players and isolated our linebackers, that's how they beat us. So it just can't happen again. We should be a lot healthier by the Super Bowl anyway. So that's it for today. I'm glad I was able to get back on. I had my old trusty popcorn bucket just in case I needed a Ralph this morning. I'm feeling a little bit better, but yeah, it's not fun when your stomach is like paralyzed, man. It doesn't work. So Jello and pudding kind of day for me. You guys have a wonderful day. Appreciate you being part of Rock Down Detroit Lions. Please support the Rock Down Cancer Foundation. We've got an any jersey raffle going on. Of course, we got mini helmets going on at Rock Down Buy Me a Coffee page. And I believe if you put Rock Down in the promo code section, you're going to get a percentage off or a couple of dollars off raffle tickets right now. I'll go in and make sure that it's up, but put Rock Down in the promo section and you should be good to go. Let me see what it says. Valid until the 25th of December. Right now, you get 10% off the triple pack of coffee. You get raffle for the Christmas special. You get 25% off on any raffle tickets now through December 21st. Remember, we've got to hit that minimum of at least $100, $150, whatever it was for the raffles. And then we'll be able to do the raffle. So that's it. We'll see you guys back in the morning. Hope you all have a wonderful day. But before I get off, we got to pick out some C3 mitts. So let's do this. How can we pick some C3 mitts winners today? We'll start with question of the day. What style of meat did Dan Campbell mention that you get used to eating, and sometimes you need to get used to eating moldy bread? So what meat did Dan Campbell mention? You can either say, there it is, Wayne Rogers. So Wayne Rogers, you're going to get the any mitt. The multi-mitt, which is Mondays. So Wayne Rogers, make sure you email me, mailbag at rockdon.com. Just get me your address and everything. I'm sure I already have it, but when you email me, it gives me something to respond to so I can get it done. And then the second one, which is today is the any mitt Wednesdays. So you'll get your choice of a bow mitt, crossbow mitt, rifle, shotgun mitt, or a multi-mitt. Let's do this one. Where did the Lions just poach a linebacker from? What team? You can only win once. So if you haven't answered, or if you've answered already and won, you can't do it again. But what team did the Lions just poach a linebacker from? No answers yet. Come on, put it in the chat. Which team? Carolina. There it is. Wait, nope, wasn't Carolina. It was Jacksonville. Jaguars. Nigel Williamson. You were the first one to pop it in there. So, Nigel, email me at mailbag@rockdon.com, and you'll be the winner of today's Any Mitt. And if you need to know what they are, just visit this link right here, c3mitts.com. Yeah, Raider Goldheart, if you look in there, you'll see Nigel Williamson's chat message is just above you. You have to play on Friday again. So c3mitts.com, check it out. That's where you can pick which mitt you want, Nigel. And then email me. I'll put it in the chat, mailbag@rockdon.com. There you go. All right, now you guys have a wonderful day. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow, bright and early at 8 a.m. for the morning show.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Lights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from uperlights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uperlights with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit uperlights.com for all your UV flashlight needs with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from uperlights.com.